Hey everybody, Crown Esso here with a foreword for this week's episode. This episode was recorded back in May at the beginning of the night market event in ESO, and it is now the middle of July because real life got in the way. I started a new job. If you didn't see the post, it's a much more physical job, much longer hours, so I haven't had the same amount of free time for working on the episode, and when I have had free time, I've been exhausted. As such, this episode took way longer than I wanted it to get it edited and out to you, but I appreciate that if you're hearing this episode now or watching this episode now, that you have come to check it out, even with the large gap between episodes. So thank you. You're awesome. You're fantastic. Please continue to support the show and share this with everybody you know so that they know that the show is still going. And let's get into this episode. I hope you enjoy. This is an interview with George from 0PeriodProductions. George, welcome back to your first time on the show. This is the 10th Divine Podcast. I'm the host, Crown Esso, and it is Season 3, Episode 4. And George is of 0PeriodProductions. And that means there's 2 zeros in the room. And was still feeling it when I went and paid for the truck. I was like, how's your Monday going? And he was like, thank you for the reminder. It's only Monday. So hopefully his week gets a little calmer and feels a little bit better about it as time goes on. My gosh. I'm having a bit of a Monday too, though, because this is our third attempt at recording this episode.
Lucky number 3.
Lucky number 3. First time, audio issues. We had to reschedule. And then we got about 20 minutes in and I realized I didn't hit record. Well, we're just going to shake that off and we're just going to keep on moseying on. All right, George. What have you been getting up to in game recently? How's the night market been treating you?
I'm liking the night market. I have not spent as much time in it as I've wanted to, and I really did think I would have put a little bit more time into it by now. It really has less to do with the game and less to do with night market itself and just running out of time in general. And I still have plenty of time left because I think as of right now there's another 5 weeks left or something like that. But I already have friends who were saying like, oh yeah, I already finished almost everything I wanted to do in night market, so by the end of the week I'll be done. And I'm now wondering if I'll even wind up playing much with my friends because they might be finished so much more before me. I have one of the relics right now, but I still need to finish up the other 2, and one of the reasons I haven't gotten that is I keep on joining like groups through Group Finder. We'll get one boss and then everyone just vanishes and I just rinse and repeat. And
yeah, so the event ends on June 17th, however far away that is from today. A little over a month. It's the 11th of April or May. I know what month I'm in. It was just Mother's Day. While looking up the dates for the night market, I learned that there's apparently several night markets not that far from me as touristy things. One's an art gallery on a like closed down street kind of thing. One is just a farmer's market that's done at night. So I learned many things in a very quick Google search. As for myself, last week, just before we recorded, we had dipped our toes in with the Xbox Lore Seekers. Tonight, after this recording, I'm hoping to get in there again and utilize the group finder. When it comes to the Elder Scrolls, as we've discussed, it's like 30-some years old. It can drive. It can vote. It can drink in every country. What was your starting point in the Elder Scrolls?
So I started with Skyrim at launch, at its original launch in 2011, and I have a very vivid memory of it was my freshman year of college. I got out of class. I think I got out 3:45, and it's gonna be a very old sentence, but I went directly to GameStop and picked up my pre-order in person.
Nice.
Went home and cracked open a copy for the 360, which I do miss part of that experience, but at the same time, the convenience of downloads, preloads, and all that just it's partially just the nostalgia that I miss. I don't know that I actually miss the technical side of any of that. But like many people nowadays, Skyrim was my first Elder Scrolls game. I realized after the fact that I had heard of the Elder Scrolls previously, but it was never really a franchise or a series that I followed. Funny enough, I got Skyrim because I had fallen in love with Fallout because of Bethesda. So I played Fallout 3 when it came out, New Vegas, which wasn't developed by them but published by them. And I was like, oh, they're making like a fantasy one of these? Sure. And it wasn't until after I played Skyrim and was watching stuff about Oblivion that I realized that I had seen like videos and guides and everything for Oblivion years and years ago when it was new, but I had never retained the name of Oblivion, so I just remember thinking that's the fantasy game that makes me think about Lord of the Rings. So it was kind of this weird, funny moment when
Yeah.
it all kind of clicked, and I was like, "Oh, I remember this game now. I remember watching this game." And I had gone back to play Oblivion. I eventually went back and played Morrowind. By the time that I played Morrowind, it was actually really fun because it was the same year that ESO Morrowind had come out. So I was kind of going through ESO's version of Ardenfell, seeing Vivek and how it was being built up, going to Morrowind's version of Vivek and seeing it, and making those comparisons kind of like side by side when it was
That's
my
cool.
first impression for both of them was really kind of cool. And it really worked because, oh, you go into ESO Morrowind and you see Chodala become one of the failed incarnates. You go into the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and you hear them mention, like, Chodala as one of the failed incarnates. So it was great because I really got to see just in real time how much the two tied together.
That's awesome. You mentioned Fallout. My old coworker was giving me heck because he's like, we're talking about Bethesda games. He's like, well, and this and Fallout, and that and Fallout. Well, you know about Fallout. You've obviously played Fallout. You're a Bethesda guy. And I'm like, I've seen videos about people playing Fallout. And he's like, really? You've never played Fallout? I'm like, nope, never had an interest in it. The irony in that is that some of my favorite movies growing up were Postman and Waterworld, post apocalyptic films, but I never got into a post apocalyptic video game series. Aside from jumping back into Morrowind level of things, oh, another side note I want to quickly mention with the Xbox 360 version of Skyrim, my only complaint is that because there's no mods, that there
Yeah.
is no third option when you're dealing with the Blade storyline and Parthenax.
Yep.
Even though it's in the coding to have a third option of being like, I'm the boss, it doesn't exist in the Xbox 360 game. So you have to pick who you're working with, the Blades or
Yeah.
Parthenax. And that was my
And
biggest complaint about the 360 version. And one of these days I will contribute to the greatness of Todd Howard and have to get a newer version so I can play it the way I wanted to. But not today.
And well, that's the crazy thing because I was saying oh, I started with Skyrim almost 15 years ago now, but even though it was the last single player game to come out for the franchise or the most recent to come out for the franchise, Skyrim itself has grown so much since just 2011 alone. You had the two DLCs, you then had Special Edition as like a 64-bit version on PC. We've since then had like the modding scene, which has done incredible things, and yeah, probably should have mentioned before, but I got my start in content creation largely because of Skyrim, because of covering Skyrim mods on YouTube, and for me, like I'm really ingrained in that community and seeing what they continue to do, not just with making new quests, allowing you to talk back to Delphine and tell her that you want to save Parthenax,
Mm-hmm.
but people are making like DLC sized releases, and even though it might not be from Bethesda themselves, the fans are really keeping that game alive and turning it into more than just a game, really turning it almost like into a launcher in some ways.
Well, and then one of the re-releases, they included a bunch of content creator stuff, Creation Club. That's the
Yeah.
word. And so then it gets a little wishy-washy when you start putting that into the actual game. And it's like, well, is that canon? Is it not? Is it only canon if you've played the newest version? I'm not sure.
I have my theory on it. And I don't know if and when they're gonna ever comment on it, but the stuff that I've released with Anniversary Edition, the Anniversary Upgrade, yeah, that was all the Creation Club stuff. The reason I don't think it's canon is because I know for a fact that none of it is canon for Fallout 4's Creation Club stuff. Because it's like, oh, here's the Doom armor, here's the Prey armor, here's all these things that are just very clearly not in that universe. So I'm applying that logic of like anything under that umbrella, like just doesn't count. Because you wouldn't have played the Anniversary Edition stuff for Skyrim then, right?
No.
Okay, so slight spoiler, but it's a pretty basic quest line anyway. One of the quests in Skyrim's Anniversary Edition is about how there's a cult of Mehrunes Dagon, and they're trying to do cult of Mehrunes Dagon stuff, but
As
they
one does.
essentially they trick you, the Dragonborn, into using, the blood of Akatosh to open a new Oblivion Gate, kind of
Okay.
like circumventing what uh, Martin Septim did. And the reason I don't think it's lore friendly is because it'd be really uneventful to say, oh, by the way, Oblivion Gates are in again because of an unvoiced quest in an optional version of Skyrim.
Yes.
Like, that'd be a terrible way to drop something that big for the universe, and I just don't see it being a permanent addition. Or another quest, I could talk about this all day. Another quest in that pack, in that bundle, has Umbra. And for those who read the novels, it's like, well, Umbra really wouldn't be around as a normal sword anymore either, so.
Interesting.
But it's not necessarily something that I think is going to matter, like, in the next game.
Yeah. Well, ESO is the primary topic of this show, so we should probably get over to that. When it comes to Elder Scrolls Online, what's been your favorite chapter or DLC release or the not season of last year?
I I will say that I do think that just kind of seeing what they're lining up for seasonal content, I can potentially see some of the seasonal stuff becoming my favorite in the future because I think, new Sheogorath content, that's really fun. New Thieves Guild questline, that's really great. Winterhold next year, I'm really looking forward to that as a Skyrim man. But of the stuff that we've gotten before, my favorite chapter is Somerset. And that kind of like marked when I started playing ESO a little bit more often. Before that, I played here and there, like maybe not just for each major release, but I play mostly like, oh, Morrowind just came out, I'll play, for that whole month. Oh, Clockwork came out, I'll play for a little bit, and I'd still bounce in and out. But I mean, I remember when Somerset came out, I logged in and I went, oh, when did they add daily rewards to this? Like every time that I came back prior to Somerset, there'd always be something new, and I'd be really confused. Like, I don't remember this system or that system or any of that. But with Somerset onwards, I then stuck with the game. I then was playing much more regularly, and it got to the point where it was, every week, if not almost every day.
Yeah, and Somerset is a very beautiful zone, especially for being one of the older zones.
Yeah.
And it's I have touched the quest, but I haven't finished it. My wife and I were working on it with her main and my main, mostly because she doesn't tank and she likes to not be hit by things. So my main is a tank and he likes to stand in front of things. And yeah, it's a beautiful zone, but that is where the overhaul of jewelry crafting came in. And that leads us into the next question of what's your favorite subsystem?
Favorite subsystem, like to this day, is still Antiquities, and I I was very fortunate. I was very lucky. I got to be at the first ESO Las Vegas event when they did that presentation live and announced Antiquities and all of that. And that was at a time where they didn't do as many previews like that for the stream team. So for almost everyone in the audience, it really was this kind of like big surprise. We knew we were going to Skyrim because they did that teaser the month before that, but Antiquities was brand new, and the way that they were doing that was just kind of like this really nice surprise. But it's really been this thing that I've loved ever since they added it, just because it gave these reasons to go back to existing zones. Like, give me more reasons to go to these delves or public dungeons that I might not be going to, rerunning dungeons that, I got what I wanted in them before, so I hadn't thought about them again. And for me, at least, it really added a whole new life of, like, exploration for the game.
I I like reading the lore bits.
I do like the lore bits. I'm terrible about collecting everything for the codex, though, because I'll get something once, and I go, I don't need 3 of these.
I often sometimes wonder like why they pick three. Why is it three for everything? Like some things make sense. Oh, this is a trinket that everyone would have had in this time period.
Right, it's like, oh, it's the base game antiquity for the zone, so sure, whatever.
Yeah, and then you got other things where it's like, well, this is a rare, once in a lifetime thing that you're going to find 3 times and have 3 versions of. Like, so there's a little bit something off there.
Especially when it's something like the Ebon Wolf mount, where you can't get the wolf 3 times, so why would I go through and get the components for it, which, how many are there, like 17? Why would I do that 3 times each?
Yes, yes. I actually haven't even started looking for that thing.
That was like my main goal when Antiquities came out. Like, I played so much and surprisingly didn't get burnt out on Antiquities then. I definitely don't focus on it as much as I did then, but it's also been, almost 6 years since Antiquities came out, and there's still new things for me to find. There's still things that I haven't finished yet, but if I don't know what to do in ESO, I always have another antiquity that I can get. So that's the kind of nice thing, if nothing else. I assumed that Tales of Tribute was going to be my favorite when they announced it, because I always loved those card games, because I loved Gwent and Witcher. I like the dice game in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I did like Elder Scrolls Legends before it was deleted from existence, but I did put plenty of time into Tales of Tribute when it came out. I got through the quest line. I maxed out the skill. I got all the decks. I don't think I upgraded every card, but I did find that, the chances of getting some of that was a little low. So it was really just kind of luck of the draw, and I just didn't have the right luck, I guess.
Yeah, and in our previous attempt at recording the show, we discussed what things do you think could be changed about Tales of Tribute to make it more appealing to players?
And I think part of it is that, Antiquities gets many more dedicated updates, kind of just throughout the year, and I guess it would be harder in some ways to have the same amount of updates and new content for Tales of Tribute, but we haven't gotten a new deck since Gold Road now, so we're coming up on 2 years since the last kind of like content update for that. I think Antiquities is really one of the only subsystems that we know is getting updated regularly, because we don't know with Tales of Tribute. We don't even know with Companions now, because we did get the, standalone part of the Crown store of Companions with Tanlorin and with Zareth Var, but even since then, we've heard mention of they want to expand on the existing companions, but we don't necessarily have a timeline for that, and they haven't even mentioned anything for companions for the rest of 2026.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the Heartstay stuff had some unique items and things for
That
the
is true.
companions. That's
That is
that's
true.
that's not new companions, but that
Right.
is adding some fluff into
It's a
there.
good update, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've kind of reached this point now where we don't necessarily know when some of these subsystems are going to be updated, so it can be kind of harder to, I don't know, anticipate like, oh, I'll go back to Tales of Tribute because I know I can work towards this before they add this new deck or before they
Yeah.
add, this new card upgrade, or they mentioned wanting to upgrade some of the existing companions, and that might give me the kick to finish some of their stories if it means there's going to be a new story for Miri or for Ember, the same way that we're getting a follow-up for the Thieves Guild questline this year.
Yes. And then I look forward to that. That's one of the few sections of the game I've
I do.
actually completed.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. And as you mentioned, companions, who's your favorite and who's your least?
Favorite is Sharp as Night, and least favorite is Bastion.
Poor Bastion. Everybody's
It's a
got a bash on
constant,
him.
though.
Yeah, he knows where he sits.
Yeah.
I haven't
For me, I think
interacted with
he's
him yet, so
in one of my houses. He's actually in a jail cell.
I think Minwee has him in a jail cell over hot coals because he made fun of cheese. Doesn't like cheese. Oh gosh.
They were putting him in the wrong universe. Like, that's the problem.
Poor guy. And I think we mentioned this the first time we recorded it, but like, how do you make a companion that everyone universally doesn't seem to like? Like, his whole
I
job is to
wonder-
be your companion.
I do wonder how that went, like, in the writer's room, and I'm wondering if they knew as they were writing him that this was going to be the outcome. But like you said, I think everyone has their own reason for why they dislike him, and I don't know when it got to the point that he was absolutely positively my least favorite, but I have a very vivid memory of it was like launch day for Blackwood. The very first thing I did was I got him as a companion. I was bringing him with me through the entire main quest line. There's one part where you have to go into Oblivion to kind of like spy on a meeting. You get found out, and you have to kill some big Dremora boss. And the first reputation shift I got with Bastion was a disapproval in that quest because I killed the boss, and he yells, "That was somebody's pet." I'm like, yeah, that's why I killed it. And that it didn't recover from there. It only got worse and worse from there.
Yeah. Shame. Poor Bastion. So, on the notion of changes or improvements to the companion system, is there anything that off the top of your head you're like, oh, I would love to request this?
I've been requesting this since they first announced Companion, so I don't think it's going to change, but I do really wish that unlocking the Companion was account-wide. Because
yeah.
going through and having to redo the starting quest each and every time for each character, I almost wish it was optional. I almost wish there was a way to say, I've done the quest before, let me skip it.
So, because we have things like that in the Crown Store, just skip a skill line, skip the sky shards, all those things. If that's how it came to you, would you take it?
Because now that I've said it, now it's the monkey's paw of like, oh, I want to be able to skip, and they're like, okay, 500 crowns. I'm like, ah. I think I'd still rather pay for skipping Sidric than skipping a companion start. I would take doing the companion start over doing Sidric again. So, point taken, Zos. You win this round.
Life lesson, kids. Careful what you wish for. On the notion of this being an MMO and the Hearts Day event being something that's just recently added to the game and added a little bit of fluff to those companions, What is your favorite type of event with the Elder Scrolls community?
Generally, my favorite events are kind of what I consider to be the kind of the the more fluff event. And I'm saying that in the nicest way. My first event that I played was New Life when I was getting back into the game, getting more into the game, and I admittedly didn't even really know that there were a whole lot of events until then. But I really like those events where it's, you go in, you do however many of the new daily quests, you get some fun rewards, but it's not something that's going to take hours. It's not going to require me to run a lot of dungeons, a lot of
Not a
trials,
heavy
unless,
grind.
I want that as a bonus. But I don't know. I enjoy when it's more of this kind of fun little holiday thing, I guess. So whether it's New Life or Jubilee or Witches Festival, um, for me that's just really this fun little almost vacation in a way.
New Life for me is often the event I try to use to get myself back involved in the game if I've been taking a bit of break or slacking. And this past year, being the exception to it, Life was like, no, you're going to be too busy for that. And it really annoys me because I was kind of looking forward to the new quests. So I didn't get to, you know, sharpen my teeth on those, which kind of sucks. But it is a good event. I enjoy the parallels. I like the old life festival activities too, and
Yeah.
going around running through those little obelisks and stuff. And then on Reddit, someone shared a picture of an obelisk, but from the Oblivion remastered. And I was like, what is this? Why is it here? And I'm like, that appears to be an old life festival thing in Oblivion. And everybody else was like, you know what? You might be right. Because they're gravestone markers, right? And little shrines. And so I'm like, look at that. Never knew those were in there. But, you know, some people get nitpicky about, well, how does this tie into lore? It's been there for decades. We just didn't know it existed.
We just didn't know what it was.
Yep. The, the, the time and energy these folks put into pulling things from all the other games is just fascinating. And I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, welcome to the mid break of the show. If you've been enjoying the show, please take an opportunity, let others know, rate and review the show. It helps other people find it, and it helps the show look lively, even when there's larger gaps between episodes. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can do so by do so by finding us on either Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and on YouTube with at 10th Divine Podcast. You can email us at 10thdivinepodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a comment on Spotify. You can also find me, Crown Esso, ESS0, in all those same places, and on Twitch. Of course, you can check out my friends over at Robots Radio at robotsradio.net, or for a host of MMO focused podcasts, you can go over to our friends at bonusroll.gg. Both great networks of people, lots of cool shows, so I encourage you to go see what they have. Check out. On the notion of extra life things, April is gone, tabletop month is gone. So, back to regular fundraising. Show notes will include a link to the team page for the Elder Heroes team, where myself, Lotus of Doom, Gone Crazy Back Soon, and all of our friends. And I'll make sure to actually put a link to the Discord we have for the team for anybody who wants to come and hang out with us there. It's not a very active Discord, but you can poke fun at Lotus, so it's always a good time. Since recording the episode, the numbers have changed because I ran a campaign to try and have 7 donations in 7 days leading up to my birthday in July. So the team is currently sitting at $831 Canadian out of a goal of $14,051 Canadian. I am currently sitting at $824 raised out of $2,108 Canadian. So that works out to being $586 American out of a goal of $1,500. And for the team,
That leaves us at $591 raised out of a goal of 10,000 US dollars. Big thank you to those people who chose to support during my little birthday push, especially since I had a couple people who donated for the second time for this year, and a few people who have never donated to my Extra Life Fund in the past 8 years. So thank you for your contributions. I really appreciate that. And please encourage the team members, follow us on socials, like our posts, share our links. It can do so much to help heal kids in a plethora of communities across North America. And now, back to the show.
Now, George, on to you as the focus. I mean, the whole episode's about you, but on to you. And, you're a content creator, you touched on the modding community thing, and you're part of the Elder Scrolls Online stream team. So, tell us about that experience and other types of content that you get into.
So I am actually repping the stream team hoodie today. I did make sure
Nice.
to put that on. So, and I don't actually know the official start date for the stream team, but I want to say it started maybe 2018 or so. I would have joined the stream team October 2019, so I've been on it not since the beginning, but practically since the beginning, given that it's now 2026. I
You're a
think when I
seasoned veteran.
first joined, exactly, yeah. When I first joined, I want to say there were maybe 20, 30 of us, and looking at it now, because it's not just the stream team anymore, it's the creator team, which encompasses streaming, it covers VOD content like YouTube, it covers podcasts, cosplayers, artists, and last I checked, it is over 100 people across all of those kind of maybe not departments, but all those like forms of media now, and it's really crazy to see just kind of how much it's grown
That is
just in
awesome.
that time. Yeah, when I first joined, it was still just streaming, and there wasn't anything for YouTubers for podcasting. But I know that was something that Gina was working on for a while because she really wanted to find ways to support once again the YouTubers, the podcasters, and everything. And I think that was a really good move in general because you have people who are doing really good guide content. You have people who are, you know, getting way more listens with a podcast than all the streamers combined, just because it's a whole different world of podcasting versus live streaming. But it's been so fun because I've seen how the game has grown, the game has changed, and then also seen kind of how the community surrounding it around streaming has too.
Yeah, and if anybody's curious, the categories are live streamers, video guides, written guides, and podcasts. And yeah, it's been a while since I looked at the list, but yeah, that's quite the list, isn't it?
Back when I got in, they essentially had open applications where just any hour, any day, any week, you could go to the site and submit an application. And the way it worked is you didn't get a no, like you never got a rejection. You just waited until you maybe got accepted, which was, I believe, either once a quarter or every other quarter.
There was a rhythm, maybe not one everybody knew about, but there was a rhythm.
Yeah, yeah. If you knew a guy, you knew when those would normally go out. You could ask him like, "Hey, so did they say when the next round of acceptances are coming?" And that was kind of how I had found out because I had some friends who were at TwitchCon. Would have been beginning of October 2019, and I heard through a friend of a friend from TwitchCon that I was in the list of people who were getting accepted next.
That's awesome. It was good to have a little insider information. So, when you had it officially announced, did it feel like you kind of had it spoiled, or was it still a level of excitement?
Oh, there was still a level of excitement. I Because the thing is, I'm in a very different situation from a lot of people on the stream team, or at least slightly different situation from a lot of people on the stream team where I'm trying to think of the best way to put this so it doesn't come across terribly.
It's fair.
The stream team and ESO isn't the main thing for me as a content creator.
Yeah.
That sounds like a diplomatic way to say that. It's the thing of I had been doing content creation long before I really started getting into ESO, and even then I got into ESO not because of it being an MMO, but because, this was now another Elder Scrolls game where, I can go to Valenwood, I can go to Somerset, I can go to mainland Morrowind, a little bit of Skyrim. It was just, it was this opportunity for me to engage more with the world, the universe that I already loved from the single player games. So ESO was never kind of like the thing that I've been known for or that I'm largely known for. It's always gotten to be a fun part of what I do.
Yeah.
But it isn't necessarily the thing that defines my channel.
Yeah. And it's good to have the ability to stretch and that freedom to stretch as a content creator.
Yeah.
You
I
get
know not everyone
pigeonholed.
has that opportunity to, which is why I've recognized that I might not be in the same position as a lot of other people on the team.
That's fair. If you were to step back and look at everything you've experienced as a content creator, as part of the stream team, what kind of life lessons or insights would you have to share?
There's a lot. There's a lot. And I'm sitting here just kind of like wondering where to start because I this could be its own show, frankly.
Maybe it should be.
It probably is. There's someone out there doing like streamer focused podcasts. The problem is that it probably depends on like who their audience is, like from streaming that they're even listening to them. So it's probably harder to do like a more broad show for that because everyone's just going to be wanting to hear from whoever they normally watch.
Possible.
Oh God, where to start? I really think a lot of it comes down to the fact that it's not gonna be fun to say. It's not gonna be fun for anyone to hear, but there really is this weird degree of luck with content creation.
Oh, for sure.
You can make fantastic videos. You can be the most engaging, interesting streamer possible. There is still such a luck of the draw if anyone finds you in the first place. It started with streaming, with YouTube, with any form of content creation is easier than ever. And it started getting a lot easier and a lot more accessible around COVID. That is when, streaming blew up. But because of that, you now have this thing of, there's way more people creating content, but it's the same number of people consuming it. So the ratio gets thrown off on like how likely it is for you to be found. And one thing I really like about the ESO directory on Twitch is that you have a lot of crossover in people's viewerships. There's a really kind of strong core audience there. So, it's not going to be every single ESO stream you pop into, but across most of the streams you go to, you're probably going to see a couple of familiar faces. You might already feel just kind of at home in almost every stream just because you're going to say like, oh, okay, well, I'm still getting to know the streamer, but at least, so-and-so is here who I know.
Yeah, for sure. And as we've discussed previously, like I have a young man in the youth group in my church who's celebrating some milestones on his YouTube channel that does clips from movies and TV shows, and he edits it all from his phone. And I'm like, when I was in high school, flip phones were cool because they started adding keyboards to them.
We were playing Oblivion Mobile on the N-Gage.
I recently saw a picture about that on Reddit recently too. It was like, Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Oh,
Kind of wish I could still do that, actually.
it is really weird though because people complain like, oh, there's so few Elder Scrolls games. It's like, no, there's a dozen of them from a very lost era of mobile.
Yeah.
But they made so many of those like spin-off titles, and it's so weird because you would not think that there would be, looking at how they handle the franchise and releases now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was, what, is it Shadow Key? I think it's Shadow Key is only available on
Yeah.
like one device, and it's like
Yes. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Lotus like found one on eBay just so he could get the game and try it. I love Lotus.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a
I got to
commitment.
see him recently at PAX East, but um I don't see him often enough. I really need to try to see him a little bit more often.
No, he's got the little Lotus pedal now at home. He's got
I
the
know, yeah.
dad life.
He actually came out for our wedding last year,
Nice.
but he also had to drive back because he was able to come. His wife wasn't able to make it. So I remember he stayed as long as he could, but he was also like, all right, I can't stay out partying all night because that's not exactly fair.
That's awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit more of a drive for me to go see anybody that I know. Like, of the people I hang out with in the community, the closest person to me is Toasted Peanut. He's at least still in the same country. And then probably yourself and Lotus. And then everybody else I know is in Florida for some reason, which is almost the exact opposite side of the continent. So, kind of a stem off of that, in your different types of content creation, there's one thing that I also know ties into other hobbies, and that is this Many Worlds Tavern and the coffee, and there's tea, and there's dice, and cute artwork, and little critters. So, berate me with your lovely knowledge.
I um I intentionally don't do too many like affiliate programs, affiliate deals, because at the end of the day, one, how many are you really going to sign up for? And two, every YouTuber, every streamer, every content creator has their own set of affiliate deals that they do. So how many am I going to bombard people with? And even then, I don't really mention them all too much. I probably should, because the companies would probably love if I did talk about them a little bit more often. Many Worlds Tavern's a fun one. I first met them years ago at PAX East Gaming Convention in Boston, for those who might know, and it started off almost strictly as just more like video games, but as time went on, they expanded their tabletop section. And especially since COVID, you had a lot of game devs realize, or video game devs realize, that they really didn't have to be renting out these spaces at these conventions where it would cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the one weekend.
Yeah.
And they just realized we can do everything online, whether it's through Summer Games Fest, which is still going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, or just posting on YouTube, hoping it gets picked up by people sharing it and everything. But at the same time, it opened up more opportunities for more merch companies. It opened up more opportunities for more tabletop companies and other groups related to that, because that did benefit much more so from people being able to see these tangible products and get interested in them. So Many Worlds Tavern was at PAX East one year, and I'm walking by, I see like, oh, they have these coffees, they have these teas. They're all themed around tabletop stuff because the group was founded by just a group of friends that loved tabletop and wanted to kind of share that and kind of marry the two. So, you
Which is
know,
cool.
you have all the coffee, all the tea comes in these bags with custom art. When you buy a bag, you get a little like card as though, you'd be able to play an actual game with them. If you collect enough of the cards, you'd probably be able to put together a tabletop game of some sort with them. Every month they do a rotating tea and a rotating single origin coffee, and those come with their own full set of dice. And on top of that, they do some charity stuff. I actually got my groomsmen some Many Worlds Tavern coffee because all of my groomsmen are into coffee, and quite a few of them are also tabletop fans as well.
And they have playmats. They have a couple of little things here.
Playmats.
I'm just kind of perusing their site on the side.
They have one of those handheld kind of like mechanical coffee grinders. It almost looks like a giant pepper mill, and
Nice.
I've never bought it because I don't need more coffee apparatuses, but it looks really fancy, and I feel like that'd be a good workout.
Nice. So,
I feel like I'd be more interested in grinding my coffee by hand daily than having to like plug in the grinder and then start that and then clean that. For whatever reason, just I don't know, a hand crank one sounds easier, even though it'd be more work.
interesting. Your brain's just like seeking that physical stimulus instead of just staring at something
Yeah.
working. Interesting. The notion of charity, they also support Extra Life. As I see it scrolling past here. And, can't shame anybody for doing that. That's awesome. So, on the notion of coffee and all the coffee things and all the coffee ways, what's your favorite way to make your coffee?
My standard is French press, and part of that comes from my parents. My parents are, I consider them coffee people, and there's a whole range of like what makes someone a coffee person, but they always did French press, maybe like a little splash and half, but no sugar, no creamers, no flavors or anything. So very kind of like just classic, straightforward, no nonsense. My dad's a regular Joe, and he just wants a regular cup of Joe.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
I mean, my dad's been going to the same hole in the wall coffee shop in New York since before I was born. He has now known generations of people who have worked at that coffee shop. Everyone,
That's
I'm
awesome.
pretty sure he's in the orientation because everyone knows him as soon as they start. And every day, without fail, he goes in the morning, he sees them, he talks to them. He goes right before they close at night. He gets a shot of espresso. He'll help them like bring in the bench from outside when they lock up and everything. So
That's awesome.
he is the regular there. And people always say like, "Oh, I'm turning into my parents." I'm not going every day, but there's not a whole lot of places to walk to in my neighborhood. But there is a coffee shop 15 minutes away that I can walk to. So they all know me and they all know my go-to order, but I'm also not going every single day or going multiple times a day like he is with his coffee shop.
Yet.
Yet. That I can't afford. He gets the shot of espresso for free. They give him his shot of espresso for free. I get occasional free coffees, but I am not expecting to ever be to the level that he is. But
There's worse
he
hobbies or habits to inherit from one's parents.
there are, yeah. So inheriting coffee was not the worst.
No, I think that's great. Um, my dad, like we used to always sell coffee. We owned a general store, but so as long as it didn't taste burnt, that's good coffee. That's essentially what we were raised in. And my dad became a delivery guy, so he got used to always drinking his coffee cold. Didn't like cold
Hmm.
coffee or cold brew. He wanted it brewed hot. He just would never get around to drinking it while it was still warm. And uh, so it was always coffee in the mornings for him. And then when he went through his cancer treatment, he
Oh God.
couldn't take coffee. Couldn't
Yep.
stand the smell. Couldn't stand
Yep.
the aroma. Uh,
Yep.
um, couldn't do the taste. So he couldn't even be like going through the hospital where they have a coffee shop, and he'd have to like take the long way around because he couldn't stand the smell of it in the hospital. And it was like such a weird thing when he's going through his treatments and be like, "Are you drinking tea? Shut up! Pretty sure you make fun of guys that make tea. Not anymore because I'm one of those guys sipping on this tea." That was good.
For me, it was just the taste. Like I just couldn't keep it down for mine. But and I remember being really worried of like, oh no, did something like change in my taste buds that I'm not going to be able to enjoy coffee anymore? But maybe like a couple weeks after I had stopped chemo, then I was back to being able to keep it down. But I think I only tried like twice during. I was like, nope, not gonna happen.
It was pretty rough for my dad, and I think it was about a year or so after he finishes treatments and stuff. But it was like, I will sip your coffee. I can stand you making coffee in my house now. It was very like he eased himself into it. I don't.
I was gonna
think
say
he
like
drinks a whole
building up his
coffee.
tolerance to
Yeah.
coffee again.
Yeah, I don't think he even drinks a whole one yet. I think
Man.
he's found some teas that he still likes. Um, so it's kind of interesting to like it's watching him go through that whole experience. I didn't realize how many things could change in a person from the treatments and
Yeah.
stuff. It was really interesting, like from just like psychological standpoint of like what it could do. There was a woman who was doing treatments with him around the same time. She couldn't drink straight water anymore. If she just drank water, she'd throw up. So she had to always put something in it, like a dye or a flavor or
Okay.
something, and then she would be fine. Which I also thought was like really particular. Like, could go on about that subject, but
I was gonna say, like, try not to turn it into a medical thing, but I know that like certain chemos and everything or radiation can like just impart like a weird taste in your mouth. So it might have not even been like the water, but it might have just been that whatever treatment she was getting was just causing this like lingering taste, and just the drinking straight water just kind of made it much more clear. She's like, nope, all right. So
yeah,
needed something kind of like to mask that. Then yeah.
yeah, which is in of itself really interesting. Is there any other hobbies or facts about yourself you want to share, George? Or are you ready for funsies?
I mean, I can talk a little bit more about the coffee because, for a lot of people, coffee is just like you drink it in the morning, that's it, and there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. I'm still by no means an expert, but I'm probably like above like average coffee drinker. Because obviously, my parents, they don't get into like flavored creamers or really any fancy drinks. They do have an espresso now. Part of that just being that they both like, they like espresso. They like being able to do maybe like a cappuccino or something like that. What had happened was I had gone down to my parents' place for Thanksgiving last year. They had just gotten an espresso. I helped them set it up and everything. So we spent the entire time I was there just, trying all the different pods, all different types and everything. And
Yeah,
then because I was talking to my wife about it. She was back home. She wasn't able to come down. She had work, but was telling her about, like, oh, the Nespresso's great. Like, oh, this is really fun. So then a couple weeks later, I wound up with an espresso for my birthday. And while I still prefer to like make my own full cup of coffee with the French press or the Chemex or oh, it's summertime, time to break out the cold brew pitcher. I do really like the convenience of the Nespresso, but oh god, I realize how quickly I go through those pods, and I actually have to order more soon because I'm nearly out. But the nice thing is that I've now gotten my wife not super into coffee, but I'm getting her into like iced lattes and everything, and I'll just take that as a win if nothing else.
perfect.
But a lot of coffee and coffee apparatuses in the kitchen. I haven't bought a bag of beans since November, and I don't know the next time I will be out of beans because my wife got me in addition to the Nespresso, got me like a 4-pack of coffee. I had some friends get me a flavored Star Wars themed coffee bundle.
Interesting.
I'd gotten myself a whiskey barrel aged coffee. My parents had just gotten back from Hawaii when I saw them for Thanksgiving, so they got me coffee from there. So last year for my birthday and Christmas, every gift was either coffee related, whiskey related, or both.
Nice.
Because apparently that's my only two personality traits now.
Ah, age. When I did consume alcohol, uh, well, whiskey, Canadian rye whiskey is our version of bourbon, and that was often part of my coffee. That's they just go together. It's a nice thing.
Yep.
It's a rough start for your boss in the morning sometimes, but it's a great day for yourself, especially during COVID. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to coffee beans and because I know that's like its whole own thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is there a particular acidity or note that you're like, these are this is my catalog that I prefer?
I like I like light to medium light roasts, and I do find that I like fruitier notes. So one of the coffees I have right now has a like a peach tasting note that I really really like. I remember having this was years ago now. I had a rum barrel aged coffee that had like a tasting note of key lime that was really unique.
That sounds good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had. Have you ever seen on YouTube the Super Carlin Brothers?
I don't believe so, no.
So they do fan theories and deep dives. They do Harry Potter, Pixar, basically like every type of TV show series and things. Like they have whole sets on the Pixar theory and stuff like that. They actually some pretty cool content. And one day they decided to create their own coffee brand.
Okay.
And so
Which I know some content creators have done now, yeah.
Yeah. So their coffee, the Super Carlin Brothers coffee, is all like the packaging is all laced with all these Easter eggs. So their logo kind of looks like
Okay.
Wally a little bit. There's all these like hints of different Pixar characters on the packaging or Wizarding World characters and stuff. Little notes of the hints and stuff. And the flavor of bean that they'd gotten for that original set of flavor was blueberry and chocolate notes to it. And as far as like a French press and how it like really grabs flavor differently than anything else,
Yeah.
I savored every sip of that coffee. My mother-in-law got me some for something, and it was so good. It took me a long time to go back to just drinking regular coffee and be okay with it. It's like, oh, it doesn't really taste like anything. Okay.
It's just coffee, just the one note. You're like, no,
Yeah.
I want more. I know there's more.
There's so much more that could be happening. Yeah. It was good, though. It's good stuff. And good content. Love those guys. I haven't watched some of their more recent stuff, but there's some good stuff there. You ready for some for funsies questions?
I think so.
Perfect. George, what zone do you call home in Elder Scrolls Online?
Currently, it is Westfield, and for a little while, it would be the thing I would bounce between, like, the most recent zone added. Solstice didn't grab me, and I actually haven't even touched Solstice's main quest yet, but
Really?
I did everything during Writhing Wall. I just haven't touched part 1 or part 2 of that story. I was spoiled for it, though, so maybe that's why. But Westfield 1, I just really like the zone. I like the way it looks. I use that as my crafting hub for my writs and my primary home right now is Maryvine Manor. So between those, like that's just kind of like where I am if I'm not doing anything in particular, like going off for this dungeon or this quest or anything.
Nice. That's another spot I haven't spent any time in. In case anyone hasn't caught an episode before, there's a running theme here of what I haven't done in this game for a guy who's doing a podcast about this game. And with your time in all sorts of games, and you've seen different things like in different types of games, different styles, and just even within what Bethesda does, which character system is your favorite?
And I play a lot of different games that have like their own like character creation. I don't even think it's necessarily the most in-depth character creator in terms of appearance or in terms of options, but um, I was really happy with Starfield's because of the fact that it had the traits, it had the background, and that alone kind of added to a playthrough. And even though it has New Game Plus, for me at least, it gives more reason to roll new characters instead of going into New Game Plus,
Yeah.
because that can help to make things a little bit different. One playthrough, you're a bounty hunter, so you get some additional dialogue there. Another playthrough, you choose to be on the opposite side of that and be wanted, and then you get more random encounters of like law enforcement trying to like take you down or bounty hunters trying to take you down. A couple in the traits, and the one that I always use is it's called Kid Stuff, where your parents are alive and they're
Yeah.
in the game. And the first time I played, I was like, oh, that'll just be, this fun, cute little thing. But they give you a lot of stuff. Like, you get a great early ship if you just have your parents in the game.
Privilege.
Well, every time that I go through it, I'm playing it, someone will ask, like, are your parents loaded? Like, are you rich? I'm like, no, it's just that they explain why they have the ship, but
Yeah.
no, they're not rich because the downside to having your parents is you have to send them money every week.
Yes. I remember that being a thing that was teased. When it comes to Starfield, I really like the idea of the backgrounds. I find that it's really interesting to have those in characters and character creators in video games in general. And like you said, the fact that you can tweak your experience in that way is really unique. And it's something that even in Dungeons and Dragons crossover with Magic the Gathering, they introduced background cards. And so certain creature cards could have a background that you can run. So you have essentially two as your commander and things like that. And I actually would like to get my hands on those cards. They came out before I got into the game. And just so I can have that different of experience in that, I like partner cards. So I feel like it'd be right up my alley. If you could bring a sport or game from Nern to Earth, what would it be?
There's two, and I think it kind of depends on how you. It kind of depends on how you look at it. I would love to bring Tales of Tribute over, just because I think that'd be fun in real life. Part of that being that, I remember when Legends was new, and for a little while they did put out physical Elder Scrolls Legends cards. I have those somewhere, but I'd have to figure.
Yeah, I've seen
It
some
wouldn't be the
attempts of
first
people to make.
time.
Yeah, I've seen some attempts of people within our community. I know the last time Gwen the Bard was on Elder Heroes Extra Life team, she made her own cards as she was getting donations and putting people's names on them. That was really cool. And I can pick. Oh man, I hate that when you picture somebody's face and you have to like,
Yep. Yep.
okay, they do this. They have this hobby. This is what their job is. This is that. That's this about them. This is their kid. Their kid's name. What their kid does for hobbies. Why can't I think of their name? Bunninator. Bunny Nader. That's the name. He was on the show on the last season, and he has a Tales of Tribute guild, and they were like, that's all they were doing was PvP of the Tales of Tribute. and he was trying to work on creating a IRL version, and had been working on a little project with a friend, but it got derailed. And so I should check in on him and see if he's figured out what the next steps are going to be for that.
I will say it would probably be a real pain to play in real life because of how many different like numbers to track and modifiers and everything. It'd be more than just making the cards. It'd be having to keep track of all these different things, and then you would need to make something for each of the patrons and turning that. So
Yeah,
there's probably a reason why they haven't made a real life version yet, but I still like the idea of it.
for sure. Well, what's the second one?
Second one would just literally be the frog racing from like the base game Aldmeri Dominion.
And then after we teach the frogs how to race, we can put them in our musical instruments.
Yep.
Perfect.
If there had been a for fun question on what instrument to bring over, it'd be that.
Yeah, for sure. This makes sense. I like the theme here. So if we were to flip that and go the other way, if you could take a game or a sport that we have and put it into Nern, what would that look like?
Unfortunately, I'm not a sports person, so I don't have anything to contribute there, but I do think it'd be fun to bring something like Dungeons and Dragons over. Just because I feel like, maybe it might not have the same appeal because it's not fantasy to them,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I could see that becoming a thing. I could see that being something people do at taverns with their friends late
Yeah,
at night.
like there's
and-
normal people who aren't adventurers there, right?
Exactly, yeah. Like, the blacksmith's never going to go out and kill a dragon, so, now's his opportunity to.
Or see that meme all the time where it's dragons playing humans in homes instead of Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, could be something like that. They're imagining our world. Here, could you imagine a world where there's indoor plumbing? Wait, what's plumbing? There's all
What's
sorts
indoors?
of things. Yeah, it's indoors. I don't want to be indoors. People own houses? I thought we were all just hobos.
Just sleeping on piles of gold.
Yeah. Piles of gold. Which you can do now with the house on the night market if you get far enough along.
Yep.
Yeah. So, when playing Elder Scrolls, what's your go-to race?
It does vary by game, but in ESO specifically, it is Dark Elves, and it's not even just because they are like one of the better options for damage dealing right now, but I just really like the Dunmer. I feel like they did get a good amount of like in-depth lore and everything between ESO Morrowind, Necrom. Honestly, the list goes on and on because even in non-Morrowind releases, we usually still get something because it's like, oh well, now Naryu's here and you get to hear more about the Morag tongue and everything. So I don't think there
Also-
is like an internal bias, but I do feel like Dunmer really have gotten a good amount of spotlight over the years.
And I like the glow up. I feel like
Yeah.
of the races, even of the Elven races, like at least the Altmer look like not coneheads. So,
Yeah.
but I would say the Dark Elves probably got the nicest glow up in their overall
Maybe-
appearance. They look in
Maybe the
Skyrim, they look
orcs
kinda like
slightly
something.
more.
Okay, female orcs for sure, especially from Oblivion, the original, not the remaster.
Yeah.
They're not fluorescent green anymore, or potato shaped heads. So like, there's that. But I would say, as far as the normal elves, which I gets wishy washy because technically Bosmer aren't elves, they're ooze, but yeah, say la vie. I remember myself and Artemis both, Armidas are both like, no, they're not elves. And the people who like Bosmer are like, we're elves, we're real people. No, you're ooze, sorry. There's going to be some people who haven't found that lore yet, and they're not going to understand
man.
any of that.
Yeah.
So, you said it's game situational. Which, in Skyrim, do you choose Nord, or do you go somewhere else with...
Skyrim I choose Nord, and it's twofold. One, because Nords just have the cold resist, and my least favorite damage type in Skyrim is Frost because of how much it drains your stamina and just kind of like makes you really, really slow. And I didn't think that the Frost resist really mattered that much until I played a non-Nord, and I went, "Oh, this is terrible." But
Especially like survival mode now.
with survival mode and everything too. But even it probably just means that I'm not imaginative enough, but I just always think of the Dragonborn in Skyrim as a Nord. Even though they can be anything, and I know that. And I'm not saying that anyone is right or wrong for how they play, just in my mind, for whatever reason, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a Nord.
Or looking at your decorations behind you, the Dragonborn could also be Master Chief.
Exactly, yeah.
When you go on vacation, what is your favorite type of vacation?
So for a long time, a lot of my travel was only for like conventions, so it was for work. And when I did go on vacation, then it would usually be with my parents, and I love my parents, but those were never really relaxing.
Ah, yes,
I
yes,
usually
yes.
I usually came back more stressed than when I left to go on the vacation with them. Um, but since then, since meeting my wife and everything, I started going on what is um, their annual summer vacation since since my wife was born. They've gone up to this little beach town in southern Maine every year, and you know, since we started dating, I've gone with them pretty much every year, and I've really come to love that. I like beaches when it's just nice, soft sand. I don't want there to be all these rocks. I don't want there to be all these twigs and all these shells and all these pebbles. And it's just a really beautiful beach. It's like a 5-10 minute walk from any of the hotels that you stay at. There's a really nice, just kind of main street where you have these little coffee shops and old candy shops and places where all they do is sell olive oil, and it feels a little like old town America, and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love it so much.
How many types of olive oil can one sell?
You'd be surprised. What? Hold on one second. So, kind of building off of audio issues. For whatever reason today, I've just been running into so many issues with my capture card, and I don't know if it's just dying on me or what, but it's just constantly saying like, "Oh, detected, not detected, detected, not detected." So I'm hoping that's not dying on me, but we'll see. How many olive oils can you sell? I don't know how many they sell. I just know how many I have. And I don't even have that
And
many
what?
compared to what they sell. But they
Oh,
do olive oils and balsamic vinegars, and it's fun because the people who work there get really into it, and they'll tell you which go together well. They'll pour like a little of this olive oil and a little of that balsamic into the little sample cups, and then they'll like shake them together to get them emulsified a little bit. And I will spend an hour just talking to them and trying all the different samples.
well, if I'm ever in that neck of the woods, I'll have to go check it out because that sounds really interesting. Out of all the things you listed, I
I
don't care
love it.
about the beaches. I don't care about. There's an olive oil store. I must know more. That sounds like a great vacation though. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you have that
I
for
love
us.
it. I'm looking forward to it. We even got into the habit of we now do a long weekend there in the off season, like early April, just for our wedding anniversary now. So
Awesome.
it's nice because then not as many people, not as busy. We can get into any of the restaurants that we want to that we might not be able to over the summer. So you would think that doubling up on it we'd get tired, but no, not even a little bit.
That's fantastic. Now, kind of playing off vacations. If you have to go somewhere in game, any game, what's your favorite in game location?
Favorite in-game location. even after all these years of Skyrim, I really like snowy locations in games. And I think part of it is because I never get to have that much fun in the snow in real life. Um, I grew up in New York City, and snow there is just gross. Like the second it hits the ground, just disgusting. And even
That's
now,
fair.
being like more suburban, just snow just means work. Snow means you have to shovel this out and that off and brush this and oh, all right, is the heat on and everything. It's not relaxing. It's not fun. In a video game, it's this white, beautiful wonderland, and I have no responsibilities at all.
That's fair. That's fair. When Lotus was doing his Extra Life charity stream last December, we were hoping that we could just roll from him to me to back to himself. I was going to like do the 12 hours in between for him. And it snowed like a lot. And I'm clearing snow off the roads where I work. And he's like, so how's it going, Crown? I'm like, dude, I'm on hour 13 of pushing snow.
Oh,
I'm done half the roads I need to do. And he's like, how's that going for you? Well, when I run out of diesel, I'm done, whether there's still snow or push or
yep.
not.
It
And
was
my little skid steer is not quite big enough for the amount I have to do.
it was really bad this past year. There's this restaurant we like, and they have this big neon, not neon, it's a big digital sign, um, right by the parking lot. And we went there after one of the major snowstorms. We got over 2 feet of snow, and
Oof.
we couldn't get into the parking lot because half the parking lot was just covered in snow. We parked nearby, walked on over. We were saying like, oh, well, we had to, park there. And he said, oh, because of the sign. And I said, what do you mean? The hostess said, yeah, the sign's down. I hadn't even noticed. The sign was knocked down by all the snow and was buried under all that snow that I'd seen in the parking lot. I was
Oh,
like,
jeez.
oh. So they couldn't even they couldn't fix it, they couldn't repair it, they couldn't get rid of it because it's now under more than 2 feet of snow.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. We didn't get lots in like a single dump this year, but every time it did snow, it snowed a decent amount. And like I said, my skid steer is just a little bit too small for the amount I have to push. So like to
Right,
make it
yeah.
look nice, and I got lots of older folks with small cars, so like you can't leave any kind of like snowballs behind. You got to clear the road. So
Yeah.
you whip around a couple times to give people enough room to get around each other, and then you got to spend the rest of your time cleaning it all up. And it was just like, man, what do I pay to just have like 4 more inches on each side? You, oh, but it was fun. It's been a good experience this job. So anywhere snowy, or is there a specific spot that comes to mind?
I say Skyrim just because it's probably what I've spent the most time in, but I remember as a kid I really loved all the different snow levels in the Star Wars Battlefront games and the older ones. So in Star Wars Battlefront 1, it was Renvar and Hoth. In the second one, I think it was mainly just Hoth, but I would just play those maps in particular on loop again and again and again. And I've just always loved snowy locations in games. Just kind of going back as far as I can remember now, yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. Now, what would be, looking back on things, your favorite retro console?
Retro console is the Nintendo 64, and I
Good
remember the
choice.
last time we talked, we were talking about like, oh, more than 20 years is now retros, so, the PlayStation 2, the 3, or the Xbox original are in that, but
I think the
even the
360 is
360 and
now at this point.
PS3,
Yeah.
yeah, would be reaching that too, and I'm not ready to think of that myself as retro yet,
Yeah.
just because I don't. Ugh. I still think about the 360 as being one of my favorite consoles, but I'm not ready to think about that as being a retro console yet. My first console ever was the Xbox original at launch, And even the story behind that's a little funny. I wanted a PS2 because everyone I knew had a PS2. I told my dad, "Oh, for Christmas, I want a PS2." And I was 9 years old. My dad sat me down and he said, "We're not getting a PlayStation because we don't have stock in Sony. We have stock in Microsoft." I'm 9 years old. I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't really care. Granted, I did
That
like the
is
Xbox
awesome.
original. I did like the Xbox original, but
No
9-year-olds don't
context for
know.
your kid. Yeah. Oh god, that is hilarious.
But
That's
that's the
awesome.
kind of story that is just him to a tease. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Fortunately, good console. Fortunately, was really happy with that console, but we then kind of went backwards from there because I did want a Nintendo 64, so we got one secondhand from a local game shop. We were at a garage sale a couple of years after that, found a Super Nintendo for $10, so
Nice.
kind of went backwards through consoles for a little bit, and I did have as much fun going back to those older systems as I did being on like the more up to date ones, whether it was the Xbox original, the 360, GameCube, and so on.
Yeah. There's something to be said about banana controllers.
Yeah.
Um, the big thing that we had, like, the only other controller, in my opinion, that is like sticks out in my mind, is the Sega Dreamcast, and
Okay. Yep.
they had the VMU memory cards, so it was like a
Yep.
miniature Game Boy memory card. And then if you had like Sonic Adventures or whatever, you could move your little Chow characters over to it. It was like a little Tamagotchi for your Chow, and you keep them happy. I bought one for my friend's Dreamcast so that I could take home Chows and play them when I was a kid. And my mother thought I was crazy. You don't even own one of those. Why do you have to spend money on that? And she was right, but I wish I had one still. That'd be
Right.
awesome.
You were hoping that it would lead to getting one.
Probably. I
You're
mean,
like
I got
planting the
his
seeds.
N64 when he upgraded to his GameCube because his mom was like, "You're not having more than one Nintendo. You could have multiple consoles, just not more than one of the same brand."
Right.
Well, George, thank you so much for joining us today and last week, and tell us where can the listeners find you if they aren't used to looking for your content.
Yeah. My two biggest platforms are YouTube and Twitch, and I say that it's not like I make anything for anything else really. But on YouTube and Twitch, I can be found at 0PeriodProductions. That is the number zero, because the word was just too long to fit into the amount of characters allowed. On YouTube, like I mentioned before, primarily focus on mods, and that's mostly for Skyrim. That's my bread and butter. But occasionally some Morrowind stuff, a little bit of Fallout here and there, a little bit of Starfield, but 99% of the time it's going to be Skyrim. I actually just had a video for May the 4th that was a lot of fun. Someone made a mod for Morrowind that turns it into a Star Wars game. And
Oh, I think I've seen something about that. Yeah.
that was so much fun, and I just want to keep playing that. But like I said, big emphasis on mod stuff. So if you're ever interested in the modding scene, wondering about, what's out there, I primarily focus on quest stuff just because of the fact that, I love the idea of new stories, new zones, new characters, and really that's the thing that got me into ESO in the first place was I wanted new stories, new characters, new locations in the Elder Scrolls. On Twitch, I do a little bit more variety, and part of that is that I won't get penalized on Twitch the way that I would on YouTube with the algorithm. So obviously,
Rude.
ESO being on the stream team, but I have a couple other games that I enjoy playing that I go between. Right now, I've been getting back into Starfield because of the update and the new DLC. I have this early access indie game that I love called Traveler's Rest. It's kind of like Stardew Valley, but
Okay.
you run your own tavern. And it's one of my most streamed games ever. I love it. It's fantastic. Even being in early access, really recommend checking it out because it's become one of my most streaming games ever.
Well, as a lore seeker, and our guild is based out of a tavern, I feel like that might strike a chord with a few folks for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, folks, thank you for making it to the end of this episode, and thank you, RNG gods and whoever else, the 8 divines, 9 divines, depending on your time period, that this episode has finished its recording successfully. Tot scenes, everybody. See you next time.